Mandalorian Season 2 just dropped its first episode. We're getting episodes every week, and this was the first episode. It's called Chapter 9, The Marshal. It looks like, they're just continuing off of last season with the chapter numbers. It's not Chapter 1, Season 2, it's Chapter 9 because we left off on Chapter 8. And I gotta say, this is very familiar. It's a very familiar episode. It's sort of a re-entry into what we left off in the first season. And so this video is gonna have spoilers if you didn't notice in the thumbnail. So what this episode is about is Mando is still trying to find his path to find Baby Yoda's people, and so he can drop it off because that is his quest. And we open the show up at a place, this really weird planet, and with like dark underground things with graffiti. And Mandalorian goes and meets this guy at a boxing ring, and he apparently has information about another Mandalorian who Mando's trying to seek out, because that certain Mandalorian would help on his journey. So he meets this person, and the guy is like, nah, I want your Beskar steel, that armor that you're wearing, and that you give me that instead of normal money, and I'll give you information. But then Mandalorian's like, that's not our deal, and we have this really cool sequence where Baby Yoda closes his cradle. The cradle encapsulates him, and then Mando uses that whistling birds thing that he was given in the first season, which just like kills everyone in the room except that green guy with the one eye. He runs away, and Mandalorian, being the awesome guy he is, catches him with this grapple hook, and he's like hanging upside down on his light post, and we learn that this Mandalorian he's looking for is in Tatooine. In Tatooine, we meet that same lady from the last season. On that episode, with the last season, there was an episode with Mandalorian in Tatooine, and he meets with this lady who has like these droids. She's like an engineer. I thought that actress is kind of bad. I don't think it's the actress. I don't know. It's just that episode in Tatooine, the last season, had some really bad acting, and like it was just the worst episode in that season. And that actress comes back here, and she's I don't know, she's not very good. But she's only in it for like one scene, and she just tells him where Mando's looking for this village called Mos Pelgo, and it's not even on the map, and she sort of guides him and tells him this is where it is, and you have to go find it. And so Mando puts Baby Yoda in a speeder bike and zooms off to this abandoned village. And what I love about this scene is that when Mando is just like walking through this city where it's just like, it's sort of like a western town where there's only like it's just a road from the middle, and then there's houses and housing and different buildings just on the two sides in a parallel line. And it really reminded me of the spaghetti westerns. It felt like walking down Valentine in Red Dead Redemption 2, which is really cool. And he's just like biking down, and all these guys are looking confused. He's like, oh, what? And then Mando goes to the bar, the saloon, which is a logical place. This is where you always go. Every time you go to a new planet in Star Wars, you go to the bar to get information, which is hilarious. That's in like almost anything Star Wars related. And there's this guy who apparently is the same race. This alien is the same race of aliens that are the pirates from Star Wars Clone Wars. So then Mando goes and asks this pirate race type guy. I don't know what the exact alien race is. I'm not hardcore, like, know everything about Star Wars, but I know enough to be a fan. So he asks this guy, he's like, have you seen a Mandalorian here? And then the dude says, no, but... And then Mando's like, and he's like, how would I be able to tell if he's a Mandalorian? And then Mando says, does he look like me? And we get the shot of, we see a guy walk inside the bar, and he looks kind of weird. He's all like lean and has this really has this outfit under this armor that is not matching the armor at all, and that armor is Boba Fett's armor, and I just freaked out. I was like, oh my god. But then again, this was already revealed like a while ago on like movie news, and it got leaked a while back. So this guy, he sits on a table and he takes his helmet off, and Mando is shook. He's like, what is going on? This guy's not a Mandalorian. And you see Timothy Olyphant, who's a really good actor, and it's cool because Timothy Olyphant has been in a lot of Western related things. He even calls Mando partner in this multiple times. He's been in Deadwood. He's been in another Western show that I've heard of. He's also been in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and he played a character in a Western in that film, and he was great in that. And that's a great movie too. But he's actually really cool here. And he tells Mando that he bought this armor off of some Jawas, which means that Boba, once he got out of that Sarlacc pit, he ditched his armor. Who knows? He probably lost it or something. I don't know. So Timothy Olyphant's character has this whole story where he's the Marshal of this little town. And Mandalorian was like, okay, you can't wear that armor. It doesn't belong to you. You have to be a Mando to wear that armor. And then he's like, all right, let's duel it out. If you win, you take the armor. If I win, you don't take the armor. And he would have taken Mando's Beskar steel armor, which is that big, because that's already like so much better than the crappy, rusty suit that is Boba Fett's armor. And then something happens. There's an earthquake that just starts shaking the entire room, and we find out that there's this huge monster that's called a crater dragon. I don't know, I forgot, something dragon, that keeps eating all their livestock, and if it changes its mind, it would probably swallow the entire village. There's this big buffalo type animal. It's the things the Sand People, the Tusken Raiders, ride. They have it like hitched somewhere, and it's just drinking water, and this thing just comes in, just swallows it whole, and just walks away. And they're like, okay. And Timothy Olyphant's character is like, all right, if you help me kill that thing, I'll give you this armor. And Mando's like, all right, let's do it, because he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. Here's the problem. As much as I'm already loving this show, this episode, it is treading some extremely familiar and repetitive ground, because we have had an episode very similar to this back in season 1, where it's one of the weaker episodes from the last season, where the Mando's in a village, and they're having a problem where these bulldog-looking guys have somehow gotten control of an ATSD, and they've been terrorizing and stealing all of these farmers' livestock and food. And Mando is, obviously paid to help them out and take them out, and that feels like the same. It feels the exact same here, but this episode is a lot stronger than that episode. But I'm just saying it's a little repetitive, and it was entertaining. And I'm just saying I love the fact that the show is sort of having like this episodic sequence where each episode is its own self-contained story, but at the same time it has sprinkles of the overall narrative, which then combines and encapsulates by the end of the season. And that's just a nitpick. I feel like if this keeps up, it could be a problem, because they already sold us and are really got us excited about the whole Baby Yoda finding his people thing. But that's that. So they agree to work together to kill this dragon, and they go meet with these Tusken Raiders. And I love what they did with the Tusken Raiders here. If you look at the Tusken Raiders from any of the Star Wars movies, they're like horrible people. like since the original Star Wars, they are like basically terrorizers. They like kill any new settler or anyone that just walks into their territory. But Mando has somehow learned their language and is able to communicate with them. And at first, Timothy Olyphant's like, there's no way I'm working with these monsters. These guys are crazy. And Mando's like, no, they're brutal, but they're a man of their words, and we have a similar goal as they do, so we gotta work together here. And I love that, and in which they, present this monstrous group of people that we came to believe in the original Star Wars films, and they gave them a new layer. That is why I love the people behind this, honestly. And I hate the people behind the sequel trilogy. But that's a whole nother video that I will discuss sooner or later, because I have a lot of things to say about that, but it's been talked about a lot. So they decide to work with the Tusken Raiders, and they even get people back at the town to team up with them, and they're all reluctant, but they have a common goal of survival. And so they team up. They bring in a ton of explosives, and they plant it up in the ground so they can, when this monster which lives in a cave crawls out, they'll blow up its belly underneath and kill it. At least that's what they think. But that doesn't work out. So the monster starts eating a ton of people, and they blow up the stomach part, but it doesn't do anything. So it just crawls back underground and then shoots back out of a mountain basically, and sprays a ton of acid, like xenomorph style from Alien, and just melts a ton of people. And I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. I can't believe Disney allowed this. And so all these people are melting, and then Mando's like, all right, what are we gonna do? So they both, Mando and Timothy Olyphant with the Boba Fett armor, get on their jetpack and start shooting it down. Nothing happens, and then they come back down. And what happens is they're like, what do we do now? That thing's not dying. We keep shooting at them, and so Mando gets an idea in which there's a buffalo thing with explosives all over it. And Timothy Olyphant's like, he tells Timothy Olyphant to grab its attention. He shoots the monster, and that thing's coming straight at them. He hits Timothy Olyphant's jetpack, and he goes flying off. And Mando gets swollen whole with this buffalo filled with explosives and him inside, and the thing is inside, and everyone's like, oh damn it, he's dead. And then you hear like a rumble, and that thing shoots back out. Mando electrocutes it out of its mouth and gets out, blows up the explosive, and that thing just explodes, and they win. And this whole sequence, actually, the one thing that really surprised me is the fact that the aspect ratios change, and the whole sequence is shot in IMAX. I am a sucker for IMAX. I love the IMAX camera. It's amazing. Christopher Nolan uses it, even though he switches from letterbox to IMAX a lot, and it's really frustrating, especially in the Dark Knight trilogy. But I think he found a nice balance with Dunkirk and Tenet. But here, it's a whole sequence like that, and it's not just like it just cuts into that. It's like letterbox, and it just extends like this sort of like Defy Bloods in which was Spike Lee's movie that came out this past year. And the whole sequence in IMAX, just watching it on my TV, I have like this 82-inch 4K TV. It was just eye candy. I loved it. It was beautifully shot. It was just like, it was just IMAX goodness. It's perfect. I loved it. And so the episode ends off with the Tusken Raiders just taking all the ichor and all the bones and stuff and meat off of this animal. It probably sells for a ton of money because it's super hard to kill. And they find an egg, and they're like, rawr, rawr, and they make that weird noise that they always make. and Mando's like, all right, you're welcome. And Timothy Olyphant's like, I'm a man of my word. I hope our paths cross again. They shake their hands. He gives the armor back, which for some reason I thought Mando was like, keep it, you've earned it, you're a great hero. But he just ends up giving it to him, and I was like, okay, whatever, it's not like a big deal or anything. I really like Timothy Olyphant's character. I really want to see him again. I want him teaming up with, Carl Weathers and Gina Carano from the last season. All four of them teaming up to, fight whoever. That would be really cool. But I loved this first episode. This first episode was absolutely brilliant. It was really well shot. The IMAX sequence was my favorite. There was a few scenes with really odd CGI, but that's just nitpicking. It is a TV show after all, but it has a huge budget. And that one actress I didn't really like, but she's in one scene. It's whatever. They did tread on very familiar ground, and I'm hopeful for this season. I think it's really good. I like that it's self-contained with each episode, but at the same time, there's a ton of things they need to cover. Like, Ahsoka Tano is supposed to be here. And I forgot to say, at the end of the episode, we get a shot of Tamura Morrison, who played Jango Fett, who's also playing Boba Fett, because, Jango and Boba look very alike because they're clones. And we get a shot of him, and he's in this robe, and he has, like, Tusken Raider rifles behind him, just like, strapped behind him, and then he turns around and his face is all scarred, and he's bald, and he just walks away. And I'm like, okay, what are we gonna do? Is this it? And they revealed him the exact same way I expected them to. So we'll see what happens with that. Other than that, I think this is a really good episode, and I'm gonna give it a solid 8 out of 10. I think it's a great episode. Well, thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, share, and let me know what you thought of the Season 2, Episode 1, Chapter 9, The Marshal of The Mandalorian. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.